Top of the morning to you, everybody. So we are here for a little less than an hour more, and then we got to go get CPR trained. So we're going to try to blitz at least the perimeter pony walls. We'll see how that goes. Of course, every other panel is a 3x stud. Anyway.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. We weren't going to actually work this day because we had CPR training starting at I think 9. I think we had a hard out at 8:30. But we're like, oh, let's just go for it. And go for it, we did. Did you notice that I brought a coil of nails with me? That's right. I am old enough to have done this 10,000 times without bringing nails with me. This time I was smart enough to bring them with me. This is borate treated lumber that is the mud cell, but Doug fir lumber that's the pony wall studs. And these guys were like, I don't even know, 9.5 inches tall or something. The step down was a change, not a big change for us. The mud sill was 3x6, and then every panel edge on this house has to have a 3x stud because of the 3 or 4 inch on center nailing. Let me catch you up and give you a little bit of backstory. So Pioneer Builders, the company I work for, was started by my dad in May of 1978. Throughout its history, we have always done some blend of customs and specs. Usually when the market was hot, we would focus on specs. When the market was not so hot, like the 2008 crash through 2012, well, then we did nothing but customs. The last custom that we built, we finished in 2017. We have found that customers have progressively gotten more unreasonable, rude, and frankly, just weird. Thankfully, the market was hot enough we didn't need to do any more customs. The market is not hot enough now, and so this project is a custom. These customers are neither weird, overly picky, or unreasonable, and I'm not just saying that because it's the internet. When we came into this project, we did not get involved in site work. There was already plans and a permit and engineering. What that means for us is that we did not get to pick the architect, we did not get to pick the engineer, nor was there any back and forth. We got what we got. Anchor bolts here are 16 inches on center with 3x studs at panel edges. And unfortunately, I had to pull layout differently and figure out for each wall what was going to work best because, you guessed it, those anchor bolts, if I pull from one side, well, we have a stud that lands on top of every one of them. Not to mention, we also have hold down bolts there. Not the end of the world, but just trying to give some backstory on this project and how we got involved.
Okay, so tooth and tooth. Tighten that down.
One of the great things about a project that is a square is that one person can take the bundled eye joists and go ahead and gang cut them to length. So while the guys were building the middle pony wall and buttoning up just a few things, I was able to go ahead and just cut all of these joists. That is the Bigfoot Tools Head Cutter XL. Just bolts onto the side of a chainsaw. I first started using this back in 2003, not this particular one. And then we worked with Bigfoot to make a bigger table and make it just a little bit more stable. Gang cutting eye joists is the way to go. As you can see, we just picked them up, cut one side. Now that's nice and square. Then I can pull a measurement to the other side and cut it square. So these joists really don't have to get handled until they have to get handled. You're going to want to use a sharp chisel tooth chain. We don't allow anyone to use this saw, and if I think somebody's going to use it, then I take my chain off. Because I don't want the cuts all super splintered. And cutting a few tree branches will do that.
We just have to figure out where the crawl hatch goes, because that's going to change a couple of the, be this joist that we don't want to put in, but B1 and B2 are still, oh, they're LVL. Yeah, I have to say, I get so annoyed. Do you know how easy it is to click on points in AutoCAD and you get a dimension?
Yeah.
So it's the cost of 2 clicks. So let's go, Brandon, if you hook this side and go that way, pull 12 foot 2.5, and then add 3.5, like mark 12 foot 2.5, and then plus 3.5. And then if you come from the other side, let's pull 11 foot 6, 11.6 plus 3.5. So then what we'll do is, it looks to me like he just splits this in half.
It's like 68 1/4.
So 34 1/8. See, I could do some math. So 34 1/8 is the center of these walls. So if that's the wall, then I'm just going to go 3 inches, and we're going to go LVL on this side. So if you lay out on that wall, Brandon, I'll give you both numbers. 152, 152 and 7/8. X toward Kyle. Well, cripes.
Bolts in the way again.
Okay, then we're gonna switch this. So Brandon, let me give you a new number. We're gonna make the best of a stupid situation. So this time you're gonna mark 172.10, and then once you do that, we're gonna go 20 off of that. Very confusing.
It should 3/4 back that way.
Yep.
20 this way.
20 that way, and if you want, I can just give you another number, or you can go 20. I feel like I'm mentally confused. You'd be at like 150 and 5/8 if you come from the left again.
So we get done and I got all this in my hand.
Exactly.
Mess.
An old pro tip. If the guy with the dumb end, Kyle in the orange, just pulls about 6 inches every time they go over to snap layout across the front, then you don't have to re-chalk your box, because Brandon would always have 6 inches of fresh chalk.
Drink that Wasser. Do you speak any other languages?
No, not really. I took French in college, but I don't remember a ton of it.
Quite a romantic, huh?
Parlez-vous français?
Ah, oui. Are you impressed?
I didn't understand what you said.
I had said that on my German test. I took German 2 quarters at Olympic College. And I liked Herr Richter. He was a nice guy. He had grown up behind the Iron Curtain.
Okay.
But the instructions on the final, I was like, Herr Richter, I don't understand how to do this section. The instructions are in German. And guess what he told me?
I don't know.
That's part of the test.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were messing with it.
I couldn't read the instructions,
Oh, I see.
but that was part of the test. If you could read the instructions, you would know what to do.
I see.
So I just kind of guessed. I still got a C. I've always been proud of that. Okay.
Now we are ready to show you a technique that we have used since we first got a forklift, specifically the Ingersoll Rand VR90, the other smaller machine, in 2003. You will see. You already know what it's going to be. This just makes life so easy.
So I think we'll start on this end, and that way he lightens up.
Okay.
And we'll put everything to those sides of the line probably except that one. And those end two we might flip off because they're probably shorties for those blocks.
Kyle's just showing off. He's got some confidence. That's right. Back up and boom out at the same time. This site is so constricted. The machine's probably just a little too big, but we couldn't have done this job without this particular machine. I'll show you some of the footage of bringing in beams, and wait until you see us have to pack up the trusses from the street with this. What a waste of our time, but again, I'm not complaining, just simply stating the facts without bias. Like the American news media.
We're gonna dump off a couple of them. Yeah, I can pop this guy and yank it out. Maybe not. Yeah, this guy I think will be that one that has to go to the blocks. So let's we could probably put that in place if we grab it. And where are we between LVLs? So I can see your LVLs is, we'll go here, Brandon, because it's going to actually be short. So go that way. Just slide it, yeah. And you should have a blue layout there somewhere. Yeah, and I can kind of do this. Is that going to stay? There we go. Or should I just yank it out completely? We measure it and cut it. Because we got to install the rim anyway. Okay, let me yank this out. So I'm going to flop it. And we'll try to make sure that the same sides are up the whole way. And you should be in enough for your rim.
Okay.
And then if you hold that down, I'm going to try to keep it parallel. And I can move mine. We'll kind of, as long as they're reasonably close. I just want to watch out for that threaded rod. Yeah, now you can go a little lower.
One thing I love about I-joists is that we can get them in very long lengths. So these came out as 30 footers. Then of course we subtract for rim on each end and a little bit of slop. So if the rim was 1.5 inches plus 1.5 inches, 3, I'm probably going to take 3 1/4, 3 1/8 minimum, so that things fit pretty tightly, but not so tight that it makes it hard to work. This is actually the first time that we have to by hand handle these things. From the street, we brought them up with the forklift, and then obviously picked them up with the forklift, cut them, and now Kyle's just booming out. But this is literally the first time we're putting our hands on each individual one. We didn't have to measure however many there were. 30 feet divided by 60. That means about 22 of them if my calculator in front of me, I mean the calculator in my brain is working.
God-given quads, huh? Don't you wonder what he was thinking when he made you? I know he's got a sense of humor just from myself.
Okay, I have to tell you a story. When we got our first forklift, this was back in 2002, and it was this old Badger Dynamics, 1978 with a Dodge motor. Thing never ran. We had to start it with ether. There was no brakes. But it was only $7,500, and we thought, well, let's try it. And we just loved it because it did the heavy packing for us. The framer that taught me, Dave, his concern was that by getting a forklift, we were all going to get fat.
That's not too bad.
He never got fat. But it was a very founded concern.
Oh yeah, and one of these we'll have to move because that was for the, that was the one that, so we're missing 2, but we could get away without that end one. So this one where the LVLs were, was that this guy? Let's take it all the way down. If you grab it, we'll just walk it.
Well, it turns out 2 of them needed to move, but we just got busy rolling those joists that we rolled right over those layout marks.
Gross, my hands are dirty.
Takeoff. Home point updated.
If you ever wondered how we do most of our filming, it's with DJI Osmos, you see it there in the background, on a couple of tampers. They're like 20 bucks at Lowe's, and they're nice and stable. So I'll usually put an Osmo kitty corner on opposites, and then like in this case, I have the drone up, and then I'm mic'd with a DJI mic that goes to the Osmo Camera A, as I call it. And then by that clap, when I find that since the drone doesn't have any audio, I can sync up the drone footage to that hand clap. So there it is. Now you know the behind the scenes.
Roseburg rigid rim. Yeah, then what I can do, Kyle, is I'll tack mine. I'll get you a number for that end.
These smaller jobs tend to be a little harder to keep everybody busy because there's just not that much room. And then, like you notice in the background, those Roseboro glue lamps, those things came out at 48 feet. Yeah, I'll show you the footage here in just a moment of getting those things down the street.
And I have a feeling that we're supposed to, like A34 these on the inside. I can't remember. I'll have to look. All right, this bad boy will be 167.3. Yeah.
A pro tip for you, whoever the sawyer is should repeat back the number because sometimes there's a miscommunication, you mishear, and there's just no point, especially when it's something like LVL. We can't exactly get that stuff at the yard. That's a special order deal. So you want to make sure you cut that stuff correctly. So if you get used to hollering out the number loud enough because we're wearing hearing protection, then the sawyer calls it back, and that's a way to verify and minimize mistakes.
Whatever you think's easy.
Let's talk band joist or rim joist. I don't remember which the code calls it. I think it says rim in the, like in this case, in the Roseboro catalog. By the way, this video is not sponsored by Roseboro. We just have been using Roseboro forever, and every once in a while they do sponsor a video, but not this one. And I asked. So, hey, there's real life.
And
so what
6
code
inches
is
on
in the
center is the
IRC
spacing.
is that we have to toenail this 6 inches on center. Now, I believe in California, toenails can't be counted on as a structural connection, which is why I was questioning whether we had to do A34s or A35s. We'll verify that here in just a moment. That would provide the structural connection or an LPT4, and I'll show you that as well.
Ice.
Because lumber is not perfect, we are not perfect, and everything is just compromising as you go. And it's a lot easier to compromise as you go when things are nice and small, meaning that the compromises are smaller. So if you tack it at one end, then go out maybe 4, 5, 6 feet, tack it again, and then work back to the first tack, that's how you can continue to work it. So you'll notice I'll kind of jump ahead sometimes and then work back, then jump ahead and work back. And the whole point of that is just I want that LVL to be flush with the outside of the wall. And if I just start nailing in a line, that could make it harder or more challenging for me to keep it flush because sometimes it works its way in. Anyway, if you are new to this, this is pretty much the way we have to do everything because nothing is perfectly straight, even the stuff that's supposed to be. I'll show you a couple of the details, in this case from Roseburg, but if you keep in mind that the APA has the industry standard, and then all the manufacturers just basically change the colors on the drawings, to be quite honest. It's an agreed upon standard when it comes to installation on these. These are eye joists. They've been around for a long time now, many decades. There is a top flange and a bottom flange, and then a web. In this case, the web is OSB, and the top and bottom flanges are LVL. And the reason for the LVL, and I believe they were a 2 3/8 width, is to be a little stiffer since the longest span was 16 foot. Eye joists are an extremely efficient use of resources. Some people call them fireman killers, and quite frankly, Yeah, they do burn faster. But like every other part of our life, we have to look at systems. This whole house is wood with fossil fuel in it, propane, and electricity. How come the house doesn't just burn or combust? Because we built to modern codes. My point is, I-joists are safe. Firefighters generally don't like trusses. They've adapted their techniques to that too, like truss roofs. They are also safe. Some benefits of I-joists, they are much lighter. I think these are technically just a little over 2 pounds per foot for an 11 7/8 I-joist. A 2x6 is 2 pounds per foot, so that just gives you a little bit of frame of reference. Manufactured in longer lengths, they are straighter and much more consistent than sawn lumber, and so you actually are less likely to have squeaks. As we install them, we're going to put one nail on each side of the flange, and then one nail through the rim into the top flange and the bottom flange. Now you'll notice here in just a few minutes, I start putting 2 into that top flange. Depending on the width, they can require 2. It's not required to have 2 with this particular width, but I was finding that the rim wanted to lean off, and so you'll see here in just a minute that I was just trying to get a tighter connection. Of course, once this is all nailed, you're going to either eyeball or string line the rim straight before you sheathe the floor.
Still got that. Can I see that right?
Can you check, Kyle, on the shear wall plan? And it will say like SW3 or SW4. I can't remember if this rim has to be A35. I don't think it does. I think it's just the little L plates on the outside.
Would it be on this main floor, Grant?
No, I think it says shear wall plan. So like here, see it says at roof, at sill plate, and then over here, anchor bolts, sheathing, spacing, I think.
Up to SW3.
It doesn't say anything about A35s, does it? Okay, good.
D's at 3" on center if it was. Oh, it's 2W3, never mind. So it's just that one. So 7/16 ply one side, 8D at 3 inches on center.
Good Lord.
Panel edges 3" or 3 times.
Yeah, 3x.
3x anchor.
So this right here, it's the LTP4s. They'll go on the outside, but over here, but we don't have any 2W.
Not that I can see these all.
Okay, good. So then, yeah, we don't have to worry about that at all. Yeah. Okay. How you doing back here, Brandon?
This rim is, this side's sitting up.
Yeah, so if we kind of, sometimes what I'll do is I get one locked in. The rim is always supposed to be taller than the joist, so it carries the load. Yeah, in the old days we used to hold everything up flush. Thank the Lord for slotted washers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so I see, Brandon. So So this guy, Kyle, let's go 140 and a half. And if you want, you can cut it out of the 14 if the 14's inch and a half. 140 and a half, I think. Come on now.
Two nails in top and bottom.
I'm sorry?
You do 2 nails in each flange.
Yeah, a nail in each at the bottom into the mudsill, and then on the outside of the rim, 1 each.
1 each on each flange.
And you're probably still going to be open. The chainsaw wasn't perfect. You're probably going to be open a little at the top. That's okay. Just nail everything in, then we'll eyeball and string it straight.
Okay.
I'll run down and nail this so it doesn't flop on us. I try to cut them just like a hair short. Hey, look at that. Look at those hot guys. I just mean because we got a nice breeze. Today's a beautiful day. Perfect day to be working. Joists are rolled. Now it's just piddly stuff. Ready for inspection tomorrow, sheathing on Wednesday. Here we have to get underfloor inspection. Apparently no one wants to crawl anymore. I guess I can understand if I was an inspector. I wouldn't want to crawl either. I don't even want to crawl as a framer. All right, so now it's just blocking and a couple pieces of hardware, and this bad boy is ready for inspection. Brandon is learning the joys of blocking. Hey, top of the morning to you, everybody. So we scrambled to get up here. So I'm not kidding. These guys left at 1 a.m. to get beams here by about 7. These are 5.5 by 10.5 Roseboro X beams. I only needed 43 feet. They went ahead and gave us 48 feet, so we got to get them up and behind. It's a wraparound porch, and basically it's 42 by 42 outside to outside. You always order a foot long, and then sometimes they just throw in the extra. So we are going to rig it and then drive it down the street and up and behind the house. Hey, top of the morning to you. You got lots of room on this side. Hey, Kyle. Yeah. Yeah. Cool beans.